Once again, I have here the most eloquent, the most effervescent, the woman that has a smile to kill for. I have the one of the greatest corporate coaches on the block, the Bianca Ariel. How you doing, love?
Pleasure to be here.
For a lot of you guys that may not know, she was actually on our show, the CO2 Rawcast, way back when, and took over the show, and we loved it. We loved it. We loved it because a lot of people just kind of like are like a little bit shy here and there and everything. But it's like you used to this. It's like, well, look, yeah, I'm about to get it in. You educated us and everything. You gave us some good, great dialogue, and we wanted to go ahead and continue today, love. So that's why I had to go ahead and bring you on the show and everything. So thank you for joining me here.
Of course.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about is, the term I like to call edu shaming, shaming women who are highly educated, highly successful. You yourself, you even said it on a previous episode of the CO2 Rawcast. You even mentioned that, hey, I have the six figures. It was not always cracked up to be because entrepreneurship was basically, the better way, for you. Like, there's nothing better than your own freedom, planning your own schedule, talking about whatever you want talking about, or just doing your own business however you feel passionate about your business instead of working for somebody else. You have these platforms out there where men are telling other men, we're not going to say any names or anything, but it's still ongoing. Stay away from these women who have PhDs. Stay away from these women who have all these degrees, all this education, all this success. A high value woman really pretty much can't hold a date down. They can't stay in a committed relationship, yada, 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 right? Because at the end of the day, men don't care about that, which is actually true in some points. I've even said it myself in my own video. It's like, well, doing what I do now, we're all in digital. We all have brands. You just happen to have a master's in marketing. Why the hell wouldn't I date you? To me, that's a bait cake. I kind of
Yeah.
feel like I have somebody that can assist me right there. So I wanted to go ahead and start that with you. So, on your end, from what you hear, how do you feel about these spaces and platforms where they talk about, hey, don't no man really care about no educated woman and her PhDs? You're educated yourself and you're successful. Has dating really been hard for like women who are successful? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So I mean, there's so many different layers to this, right?
Oh yeah, we're gonna peel them all back, boo.
There's so many different layers. I mean, for to answer your first question, when we're talking about spaces where men are freely talking about not really, being that vested into whether or not a woman has a specific education and that they are looking and valuing other things outside of that. I think that's a great conversation to be had. I think these open spaces really give men, but also women, insight on what men are looking for so that they can really start to identify with what would be better suited
Mm,
for a pairing of their liking. And I think with education, I think especially in our generation, we were socially conditioned to believe that this education was going to propel us and put us in spaces and attract certain beings to us that we wanted. But now it's showing that you don't necessarily have to have an education to make great money. You can, entrepreneurship is glorified now. And now we're seeing that, men necessarily, like partners necessarily aren't looking for somebody with a specific education. So I think these are great spaces and great conversations to be had. But at the end of the day, an education is just something. I mean, it's something that people identify with, but it's not everything. And I think it's really important for us women to really resonate with that.
we kind of have been. I really don't want to use the word brainwashed, so I'll just say we have been conditioned.
Conditioned.
We have been conditioned to continue having a greater education beyond the high school level.
Hmm.
But of course, our grandparents, they were into the trade. Like our grandfathers, some of them were plumbers. They were craftsmen. They did everything with their hands. The trade was on and popping. But as time went along, I don't know, somewhere down the road, being white collar overshadowed the successful blue collar man, even though we understand that if it wasn't for the blue collar, there'd be no white collar. Blue
Right.
collar built the size skyscrapers.
Yes.
Blue collar built the conference room, laid the pipe downs in the bathroom that you pee in on your break. You
Yes.
know, so and I think that when we ended up getting part of that conditioning, it's almost as if like we weren't conditioned in which area to go as far as being educated.
Yes,
You
we
know.
were conditioned to pursue, this education just based on what we were told in school, right?
Yep.
So, if we're talking about that arena specifically, we at 18 years old, we're left to make the most important decision of our lives, not only occupate from the occupation perspective, but also from the financial perspective. A lot of us didn't even do the research to see how much this career is going to make, or is this career going to make us happy? We've never even interned or worked a day in the life in a career that we're choosing at 18 years old. But yet now we're choosing to pursue this education, going through spending, investing in this education, going through schooling, graduating, and either finding out we're not happy, finding out that we're not making as much money as we thought we would, finding out
Now we're
a,
we're in debt.
a longer tenure for us to get to the position that we're looking for, or we can't even find jobs or anybody to hire us right out of school. So there's
Right.
all these different facets to education specifically, and especially with the trend of entrepreneurship. A lot of entrepreneurs are dead broke. So I think the evolution, we're glamorizing entrepreneurship, and and a lot of people are evolving and wanting to start their own businesses, which I think is fantastic. I think freedom is the ultimate, like that is freedom is the ultimate goal, I think, for me especially. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many different facets. I'm hesitant to speak because I believe I have a different perspective,
Go ahead.
and I also don't date men. So I'm trying to think about it from a different perspective. But
Hmm.
just from my experience in coaching women in successful positions, they're honestly looking for their equal. They're looking for a pair. They're looking for someone of their caliber, someone that's going to be able to support them at the same level that they're able to support themselves.
Okay.
And a lot of people, I think there's this like illusion that a lot of people are making more money than they actually are. So a lot of these women are looking for these men that are making these six figures and above, but in actuality, that's just a small percentage of the population.
Right.
So I think the biggest misconception about successful women is that they're only willing to date like a particular type of man. I think that's what they desire, but I think that when they do finally find somebody that is their equal, even in other assets, or are feeling or fulfilling other desires that they have, just the way that they're being treated, the way they're taken care of, the desire to have a family, the honesty, trust, communication. I think that women are willing to, pair with a man that doesn't necessarily consider himself successful or doesn't make as much money as she
We
does.
always talk about the whole looks, money, status thing, right?
Hmm.
And like you just said, you have these successful women who feel that they need to date their fiscal, economic, financial equal
Hmm.
until they probably end up realizing that there's a lack of character there. I mean, you can still have the drive, the ambition to succeed, but you're not romantic.
Hmm.
So typically, what ends up happening, here comes a cat, who has like a cool little gig at Best Buy,
Hmm.
who
Hmm.
hollers at you,
Hmm.
makes you smile, makes you feel good. He wants to invite you over to a little Starbucks or whatever, for a little coffee and conversation. And
Hmm.
next thing you know, we're dating.
Hmm.
Now we're in a relationship. Yeah, you're making more money than me, but it's the fact that character obviously played a big part. And you got a lot of these successful men out there talking about, okay, see, these chicks ain't shit. They don't know what they want. And well, she messing with that broke dude. I got way more money than him. But it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, but where's the character?
Yeah.
That was one layer that a lot of people like really never like understood. Like,
Hmm.
why is she messing with Pookie and Ray Ray?
Right.
Pookie and Ray Ray as a character, and honestly, they're just very, very honest, and they don't care, which
Hmm.
is something that I like a lot of women, like in everything. Now that we have those platforms out there where they're pretty much talking about like, stay away from the chick with the PhD or stay away from the highly educational, the educational woman. Like I know you still coach in the corporate world, right? And I'm
Hmm.
sure there might be like something little personal conversations that take place. Has there really been anybody who felt kind of like impacted or just like negatively depressed about not being able to like find a partner because they've kind of feel like men are intimidated by my success, or now there's these platforms out there teaching men like just stay away from successful women, period, because they're too domineering, they're too challenging, they always want to compete, now they're just over masculine.
I definitely haven't had the conversations with my clients about their relationships specifically, but just in casual conversation. And I want to go back to the Best Buy guy in a second.
Go
Um,
ahead.
but in casual conversation, I think a lot of people are having challenges seeking the right partner for them. And what it really comes down to, and where the conversation really leads to, is really understanding your own needs and understanding yourself first. So then you can start to figure out who is going to be the better match for you.
Mm.
Um, I think that men are intimidated by women that are more successful than them, but that's really just a perception. I think when men really take time to figure out what it is that they need, and then what it is that they can provide, then I think that the intimidation would dissolve.
Mm.
Because once you know who you are, once you know what you can provide, a successful woman should not intimidate you. And I
Mm.
think successful women should also take the time to peel back the layers and figure out what it is that they can provide outside of the financial spectrum. What could you provide to a man, as a wife, as a mother? So now you have the better understanding of what you now have to offer to a man, and what it is that you desire, and what is the needs that you're looking for, so that now you have the better perspective when you're looking out and choosing that gentleman.
Right. So what did you want to say about Mr. Best Buy? Sorry, I've been watching Insecure too much, so Lawrence pops in my head. He worked
Oh,
out
so
subconscious.
I
But go
want to
ahead.
point something out there, because I think that successful women are making this mistake as well. I
Uh-oh.
think that when we pair with an individual that looks good on paper, but is not necessarily a match for us, right? Energetically, walking in a Best Buy and seeing somebody that's attractive, that has great character, it does seem more appealing, right? Because it's like, okay, if I can't have, I've tried to date somebody that we're great on paper, but we don't really match energetically. But now I'm having a great time with this guy at Best Buy. I really just want women and men to just be mindful of the imbalance there, because he has great character, yes, and there's nothing wrong with working at Best Buy. But if you're dating a CEO or a CMO of a company and he's working at Best Buy, there's an imbalance on drive. There's an imbalance in like ambition. There's an imbalance there. The way that you two look at life is completely different. The
Mm.
way you two are pursuing your lives is completely different. Now, I don't know his dreams and his aspirations, but a lot of time we're choosing people based on potential or what it is that he dreams of. But if you guys are of similar age or similar, in similar stages in your life, but there's this huge imbalance there, then that's also going to cause friction in the future. And another thing I want to point out is also, Best Buy guy and even successful woman, when he starts to make money and maybe say she loses her job, the character is what you have there. So just be very mindful and really getting to know somebody and getting to know yourself first before you start to choose people, especially when it's imbalance there.
That imbalance could be drive
Mhm.
versus comfortable.
Yeah.
And like you said, we're just assuming that they
Or
are.
contentment.
Yeah, like let's just say we're all, we're talking that we're assuming they're the same age. You
Hmm.
have the woman over here who pretty much clawed her way to the top. She didn't get hired as CEO. It's like, nah, she got the degrees and intern, and then claw, and now she got that promotion. And she just happens to run into, like you say, this dude who's this great character, but he just happens to be not making. We'll just say he's somebody just making less than 50,000 a year. We're not shitting on the dudes out there who actually just got a regular job, honest
Right.
job.
There's nothing
Nothing
wrong
wrong with that.
with
You know what I mean? But you have a great personality. You have great sex appeal. You're physically attractive, but you're comfortable when obviously you have like this dope earning potential. And you think that this is something that she may continue to bring up. Like,
it.
do you want to like work at Best Buy forever? And he may be happy where he's at. And there's nothing wrong with that. But what you're saying is, but she sees more in you. So is that a gift and a curse in today's dating when it comes to like a man dating a woman, or or just somebody dating someone else, who makes more than them?
She understands what it takes to really drive and get to the top. And this was the mission and the vision that she had for her own life. And what we tend to do is we try to place that same energy onto somebody else. So we can see the vision. Someone else can see the vision in you. Someone else can see the potential in you. But if that person doesn't see it for themselves, that there's never going to be a change. And a lot of us get trapped in this round and around cycle to where we feel like, okay, this person is going to evolve. This person's going to evolve. And then you wake up 5 years later and nothing's changed. And I think we just have to really be mindful of that. You could see that this person is talented. Even me, I'm over the whole corporate. I think it's great. I think it's a great stepping stone. If you want to work in corporate, I think that's great. I personally work with startups myself. I'm over the whole corporate setting in general, right? But I think so I could easily see somebody else that's working at Best Buy and see, you know what, you probably are happier than most people working in corporate actually. And you're so talented, you're an artist, you have so much potential. But if this person doesn't have the vision and he's really and some people latch on to people that have a vision for them. They latch on to people that are successful. They latch on to people that are pouring into them, but they never really truly have that energy embedded within themselves. And I think you got to be mindful of that. That imbalance could really get us in trouble.
So are there some cases where being ultra successful could it really just cause a hindrance on on the subconscious? Could it really just be depressing because it's like, man, how come everybody that just seems to be making less than me just seems to be having the time in their life and I'm over here busting my ass working and yada yada yada. Next thing you know, you're mad at your partner who make less, mad at your friends that make less, and they just turn it up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that happens all the time.
Wow.
All the time. The key is to do something fulfilling, something that brings you peace or joy. And if you're not able to do that in your career, the key is to find things outside of that really speak to your soul.
If you're familiar with what was going on with the defamation trial between Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, and Amber Heard is considered high value. She's pretty much I don't know if she's considered A-list, but she's been in some very popular movies, Aquaman and stuff like that.
Okay.
Right? And now you're talking about that imbalance. Let's bring it up again. Johnny was kind of like the cool dude here, and she was kind of up here like from what we were saying, but it sounded like it was supposed to go the other way. But according to evidence, it's like, okay, I know, Amber, you was on the bullshit. And so now you have these platforms out there. It's like, see, I told you, this is what you're supposed to stay away from. So now when you see this, see all of this going on, I don't want to say all successful women act like that, but now that it's out there, this is only just one case too.
Yeah.
One case that was very, very amplified. It's still something that all men should just be like, see, I'm cool. I'm a high value woman making hella money. I'm done. I'm just gonna go ahead and date the chick at Starbucks.
I don't know much about I see it. I've seen it all over the place, but I don't.
It's a mess.
I really don't know much about it. But at the end of the day, if that's what the man wants to do, then do it. If you want to date the girl at Starbucks, if men, they're very visual. If you want to date somebody better looking, but maybe is not, making a certain amount of money, then do it. I think whatever speaks to your soul, do it. I think what it looks like, and from what I've looked at, like what I've seen, is it just looks like a toxic pairing.
Yeah.
Because anytime you're in public court, it looks like a toxic pairing. So what I say, go with a partner that brings you the most peace in your life.
Ego.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've heard in life,
mm-hmm.
when women get a little bit of, when they get the bag, apparently they have a tendency to look down on you. Me personally, I probably only experienced maybe that like one time in my adult life, where they're like, that's all you do? That's how you like literally just one time in my adult life. And it's funny, I experienced that from a woman that was in a sports bar. so I kind of thought that was hilarious. It's like you're in my environment. It's not like I'm at the W at an event trying to holler at you.
Right.
You're at a sports bar with wings and shit. You know what I mean? So you on my block over here trying to look down on me and everything. Is there an ego when it comes to a woman getting the bag? Like I said, I only had it once, but have you seen any egos rise after they get that success?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually reading a book called The Power of Not Now by Eckhart Tolle. So if anybody wants to learn about, living in the present and separating from ego, that's a great one. And also A New Earth. But absolutely, I think, again, yes, when it comes to power, money, men and women. I think there's a lot of ego attached to that for sure. I think we're self-identifying with things that are external to us. And, if you're sitting at the same bar as somebody else and then but yet you feel as though, you're better than them or bigger than them, that is completely associated with ego. And we all are egotistic at some point in our lives.
Mm. Is it a black thing? Because I don't really see anybody else tripping off that much. It's like, how come when brothers get the bag, we gotta act up? When the sisters get a bag, we gotta act up. How come we all just can't be like, you successful? Me too. No, let's date. Let's go out. We got to go on. So we still have a tendency to still challenge one another, still compete.
I think that we see it more in our community. Not that it doesn't happen in other communities, because I definitely see the ego thing. And I definitely see that in other communities where women's voices are silenced. And I think, but we don't see the competition between men and women the way that we do in our society. And I always say this, it's like we're the only society that really doesn't work together. And I really think that's coming from voices outside of us. Like we're trying to live up to standards that were placed on us from communities outside of our own. And then in return, we actually start to compete with one another, with women against black women against black women, and black men against black men, and then even black women and black versus black men. And it shouldn't be that way. So really trying to get to know, again, everything comes back to getting to know who we are, taking the time out to really figure out who we are and what it is that we desire, what it is that we need, will then help us also start to separate from our ego. And that's our education. That's, the money that we make. That's our businesses. That's power, even where we live. All of those things are associated with our ego. And you can really tell, the character of somebody once you start to peel all of those things away and really figure out what it is that you have left after that.
Ego is a beast, y'all. And there's a whole lot of ego when it comes to this whole digital YouTube space. Yeah. Especially when it comes to, to the dating niche, because now we literally have, the men shaming all aspects of the successes when it comes to the ladies. And I do my best to try to bridge that gap. That's one of the reasons why, I brought you on, because you could literally be the voice of reason for the women who are, successful. And we're not even talking about as far as just monetary. Mm-hmm. Success to me is you now are able to do what you want to do, and you're good.
Yeah, redefining and reframing what success actually looks like, it comes to you during that journey. So me leaving corporate and leaving an industry that I didn't want to be a part of, like that was that was a very challenging transition, but it also allowed me to redefine what success was to me, because prior to this journey, I was pursuing what success means to other people. And so once I started to separate and really started to say, okay, so what am I without this paycheck, without this industry, without somebody supplying something for me, that really success started to feel like, okay, freedom. The more freedom that I feel, the more successful that I feel. And so that's something that you uncover when you do start to get to know yourself.
And I got to go ahead and, say this before a troll comes around and makes this remark.
Yes.
Well, Bianca, a recession is right around the corner and everything. And then so what you going to do when you ain't got that bag or whatever, you know what I mean? So what's your plan? What are you going to do? So, yeah.
I plan to work. So the great thing about successful women, or whatever is perceived as success, is that I put in the work already. So I did go to school. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, right. I do have experience. So there's nothing wrong with that. Just because I chose to leave to pursue what I desire and pursue what I call freedom, that's fantastic. But the great thing about having all of that is that you could always go back. You'll always be able to go and, and make money in another facet. I have options. Whereas some people that didn't pursue that route, this is all they have. And I think that there's strength in both of that. Somebody that's never worked in corporate, they know how to hustle. They know how to get it. They don't know what no means. They understand that grind. Somebody that does come from corporate, they're learning that hustle. They're understanding that grind. But guess what? They still have that opportunity. They have options. They still can go back to the comfort and the contentment. If there is a recession, they still have that option as long as you continue to be active. So yes, if it's not working out, I'm still going to work in any regard. And I don't feel there's nothing wrong with that, because I worked for both to live in both worlds.
like I said, for you trolls out there, just be like, all right, because when the recession hit, what she gonna do? Is she gonna be on OnlyFans? Like, look, Bianca ain't gonna be on no goddamn OnlyFans. If it's anything, she probably got shares in the shit. She probably part owner, making money.
What's so funny is, listen, I actually looked up OnlyFans for like business coaches to see, because we have this like stigma against all of these things outside of a certain profession, right?
Right.
And when I'm coaching other people or whatever, doing business strategy or whatever, I like to be well versed. So I looked into that, and I just simply didn't go any further because of the stigma connected to it. But if you're on OnlyFans, good for you. Get that bag. Can I ask you questions?
Yeah, go ahead, take advantage.
Okay.
This is
So I want to go back to the original topic, and we're talking about the educated and successful woman,
Yes.
and what is appealing or not appealing to that, right? And you're saying that there's platforms that's telling you guys to stay away from us.
Yeah.
So when you see successful women, are you attracted to that? What do you see? What are you looking for? Or what makes it not appealing to you?